Hey guys, what's going on? So I'm about to play Arkham Asylum. I'm just going to wait a few more minutes for more people to join really quick. I just put on Twitter that we're starting, so we'll start in just a few minutes. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and do normal just so that I can read the chat. Hey guys, thanks everyone who's joined so far. So once we get into gameplay, I'll kind of explain sort of the future of the channel. I was going to do an update video, but I decided to just talk about it in the stream instead, so that I can kind of get some feedback as well. I did a poll talking about which game you guys wanted me to play, and of course it's Arkham Asylum, so here we are. Everyone tells me they're sick of my Arkham content, but then whenever I do a poll, you guys are always like, play Arkham. Slickmoth dating, me and Little Slick are going to war. Whose side are you on? Slickmoth dating advice, so I guess I'm on your side, but I don't know. Little Slick is making a pretty impressive case.
Stand back, fool! I've got a bomb. Huh? All right.
Can you guys hear me okay, by the way? Do I need to adjust audio? Am I keeping safe? Yes, I am. I'm very healthy and isolated, and it's driving me a little crazy, but I am safe. I hope you guys are all safe as well. This is definitely a situation we need to take seriously, but it's not something that we should be too freaked out about, I don't think.
Yo, Frankie, how's the wife and kids? You miss me?
Shut it, clown.
Slickmoth Dating says that he's getting lag. Is anyone else experiencing that?
Really?
Okay, cool.
Mind walking. Not so tight, boy. She'll crease the suit.
Get that filthy degenerate out of here.
Warden, something's not right. I'm going with him. Is Commissioner Gordon here?
Yes, sir. He's waiting for you down at patient handle. Got here just before you.
Sharpie loves his captain. Hey, Sharpie, you getting my good side? Ah, but heck, they're all good, aren't they? Look at all this new security. How's the guy supposed to break out of here?
New patient in the intensive treatment lobby. All non-essential staff to vacate the area.
Oh, it's always nice to return to my sweet little hacienda.
I might not be commentating much for a minute just because it's kind of hard to talk over them in this opening sequence.
Scan initializing.
You know what? I prefer the good old cavity search. Much more personal.
Got a red light. Multiple prohibited items.
I want them to search again.
So, are you guys all doing okay? Like, I know that clearly there's a pandemic going on. It is a very serious situation that we all need to take seriously. But, you know, I think that there's this mass panic and hysteria that isn't really helpful. But a lot of us are in isolation. I've had some friends from other states and countries DM me and talk about their situations, which are far worse than mine. And it's just crazy. So I just hope that you guys are staying safe, but also finding, you know, ways to still have a, you know, some fun or some positive experience by the craziness.
Ooh, it's my favorite show. I'm one idiot. You'll never escape.
Hey, it's Joker.
Joker! Joker!
Hear about Black Jake, boss?
Joker!
Shut up! Go, catch you soon, boss! Shut it and keep
Telling
moving.
you, the state of the wiring of
Said
these
shut
federal facilities
now.
is, well, it's shocking. My boys over there could have been hurt in that unfortunate fire.
Just gotta check your prisoner, Officer Bowles.
Whatever, just be quick.
Only following procedure.
Yeah, game person, no pressure on staying. You're good.
Looks like he suffered minor
Jack says, I've
lacerations
spent
the
the past year revising FRA. Oh, sorry, it cut off. For my A-level exams, and now they're canceled.
He's all yours. Get him out of here. He's good. Get the door
Yeah.
open.
My classes weren't canceled, they were all just moved online. That's why I couldn't start the stream earlier, was I had a conference call I had to be on for class.
System active. Shoot to kill permissions granted.
You heard the lady. We got another psycho on the way.
Can you smell the excitement in the air? No? Must have been one of the guards then.
Oh, also everyone who's on Twitter, go retweet that we're live right now. I sent out a tweet a few minutes ago. Let's just let everyone know that I'm on. It might not be a very convenient time since it's earlier in the morning for everyone.
Keep your weapons trained at all times.
And I didn't give much notice that I was going to be doing this, so that's probably why.
What's it doing?
I've got your scent, Batman. I will hunt you down. A toy collar won't stop me from killing you, Batman. I'll rip you apart, eat your bones.
That reminds me, I really need to get me some new shoes.
Move up.
Alright, shout out to Talus and Jack Davies for letting everyone know that we're streaming. That's awesome.
How come they let Batman pass?
Whee! Great night for a party.
Not where you're going.
The night is young, Bats. I still have a trick or two up my sleeve. I mean, don't you think it's a little bit funny how a fire at Blackgate caused hundreds of my crew to be moved here?
I thought I told you to stay quiet.
Oh, Frankie, you really should learn to keep that fat mouth.
Hey, Vincent, how you doing?
shut. It'll get you into trouble.
Tell me something.
What Arkham game do I think has the best combat? Knight.
What are you really after?
Hey, Greg.
Nothing much.
Yeah, I think Knight has the best combat.
All their meaningless lives brought to a horrifying conclusion.
I wouldn't say it has the best stealth, but yeah. Close combat, definitely Knight.
Was that the answer you wanted?
All patients should avoid contact with prisoners from Blackgate Prison Facility.
What's up, MCG?
What's he doing? Stay where you are.
Yeah, Jack, I'm gonna be talking about that as soon as they stop talking for a bit. When I get into more of the gameplay stuff, I'll talk about the plans.
What? Don't you trust me?
Our guest has arrived.
Game Person says City has the best stealth, in his opinion, and Origins has the best Predator maps. I think that, yeah, I could see that. I think there's something about the stealth in Asylum, though, in this game, where, like, you have less resources and it's a little more challenging. I feel like a lot of the other games, they kind of made the stealth too easy, too convenient. Greg Pop asks, so is the new Batman game not going to be in the Arkhamverse? It sounds like that might be the case. What's up, Shatterpoint?
Joker invades City Hall and holds the mayor hostage.
Yeah, it seems like most insiders are saying that the new Batman game is not going to be an Arkham game. It's going to be a reboot.
It's been a hell of a night.
Hopefully the last one we'll ever have with
And we were going to see it at E3, by the way. That was confirmed by Kotaku and other people. But now E3's been canceled, so... The 1 year we were actually going to get what we've been asking for, you know. I'm going to be doing a video on that, by the way. On, like, where we could actually see it now.
You, Bats, don't be a stranger. You're always welcome here. Gotta say, it's good to be back.
You okay?
He surrendered almost without a fight. I don't like it.
At least he's
Hey, Lashing Badge. MCG, I'll answer that in a few minutes. I'll talk about more of that later in the stream.
Joker's loose. Alert the warden.
The joke's on you. Ta-da! Honey, I'm home.
Come on in.
Welcome to the madhouse, Batman.
Okay, so we're in the chat. We're kind of talking a little bit about how we maybe want to see Warner Brothers Games Montreal go off and do their own thing. Greg Pop says, I'm not sure WB Montreal is talented enough for that. And it's... So the interesting thing about that is that I would agree if it was the same team from Asylum, but now they have people like Patrick Redding, who was the game director on the Splinter Cell games over at Ubisoft. They have level designers from the BioShock games. They have Scott Snyder helping with the story, and he's the one who's done a lot of the New 52, like, Court of Owls runs and stuff. So I actually think that with this new team, they could really do a good job with it. It'll definitely be interesting to see. Good afternoon, Arkham Nation. Apparently, WB Montreal is also working on a Superman game. Going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Yeah, it's not been confirmed. The Superman game hasn't been confirmed at all. But it is rumored that Warner Brothers is doing a Superman game. We're not sure which studio is doing it, but Warner Brothers Games Montreal is working on 2 IPs. That's been confirmed by the developers. So the idea is that maybe their second IP is Superman. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and talk for a minute about sort of the plans for my channel. That was one of the reasons for doing this stream. So I have been... A lot of you guys know that my uploads are really not... what's the word? They're not really very fluent at the moment. They're not really... I don't do it very often. So my uploads, I'll go like months without uploading. You know, occasionally I'll do a live stream, occasionally I'll throw up a few videos, sometimes I do more than one at a time. Yeah, consistent. Yeah. So, I'm still really tired, so I'm not very eloquent today in speaking. But yeah, so I've been the reason that I haven't been very consistent is that I haven't really known where to take this channel, because I created it in like 2017 or 2018 to talk about superhero games. And right when Spider-Man came out, I got really sick, and primarily this was intended to be an Arkham channel. I was like really inspired by Slick Pop and Salvage when Arkham Knight was coming out. And I assumed that we were going to get, we were going to follow that 2 game a year, or game every 2 year rather, pattern. And now we've gone 5 years without an Arkham game. So this channel has kind of just been left desolate, and I'm kind of surprised that it's grown as much as it has, despite us not really having content in terms of Arkham, which is a testament to the community and how much we love the franchise. But ultimately, it does sound like we're going to get an Arkham game at some point. Or not Arkham, but a new Batman game at some point. And, whether that's this year, or whether the whole pandemic thing is going to delay that into next year, I don't know. But, I also want to cover the Spider-Man sequel. I want to cover the BioShock stuff that's coming up soon. So I've been trying to consider where I want to take this channel in terms of content so that I can cover all that. And also, YouTube isn't my end goal. I enjoy doing it, and I want to make good content for you guys, but it's not my end goal. A lot of you guys know, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm a film student. I'm working on multiple short films. I have all this stuff in development. So trying to find that balance where I can make good content for you guys that covers sort of a wider range of things than just Arkham. And I know that that's ironic for me to say that while I'm playing Arkham Asylum right here. While also pursuing that has been sort of a challenge.
Oracle, I'm here.
And so this last month I've really been considering, I've had time to... I'm just going to skip through that. I've had time to think about what I want to do with the channel. Hey, Mateus.
Harley thinks she has me trapped in this
I'm
chamber.
pronouncing that wrong, I'm sure. And Carnage Ghost.
Batman, I'm patching you into the guard radio.
But, so I've come up with a plan. I want to have 3 videos up per week, minimum. And I want to do a live stream every 2 weeks. So it'll be every other Friday morning. So not next week, but the week after I'll do, Arkham Asylum Part 2. Every time I finish a game on stream, I'll review it or analyze it, depending on what it is. And I have a lot of videos planned. I've recorded a bunch that are ready to be uploaded. And I'm just going to put up 3 every week. So I have like this whole backlog of videos that are ready to be uploaded. So Carnage Ghost, for example, I've actually already recorded the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor reviews and analysis type thing. That one's already been recorded.
Listen.
I'm just waiting for a better time to upload it.
Are you gonna get in there and help them, Batman?
So that's the plan, is again, just in summary, 3 videos per week minimum, plus 1 stream every 2 weeks. And I think that the reason that this will work is because then it's not like I'm pushing myself to do daily uploads, but then if I have time, for example, I can record like 5 videos and have, 2 weeks ready to go, basically.
You're gonna be fine. Stay here.
I think it's a good balance, because I still need time to work on screenwriting, work on filming, work on editing. I have so much, I'm so freaking busy, especially because my classes weren't canceled, and I still have to go to work, so I'm always busy. But this will probably be a good balance. I think I can manage this. Am I going to play Resident Evil 3 Remake? Yeah, I might. I actually haven't really... I've played a little bit of Resident Evil. I don't even remember which one. I think it was 7 when it came out. I think I played the demo for that. I haven't played Resident Evil. I need to get on that because I love horror games. Yeah, I know who you are, Carnage Ghost. The Wolf Among Us. Do you mean the Telltale series? I don't love Telltale. I'm really hoping that this new management steps it up and tries to do something new. Because I am so sick of basically, I don't know. I didn't really like what Telltale did. I liked Season 1 of Batman, and that's really the only thing that they did that impressed me. So when do I expect announcements of games? I'm going to do a whole video discussing it, but in short, I think it depends on how long this pandemic lasts. If it keeps going and they're not able to work on the games, the announcements are going to get pushed back as well. So, I don't know. My expectations have been lowered a lot. My hope is that they'll just still do the conference through a live stream, and so we can still get the announcements in summer or something. Maybe we'll still get a game this year. And who knows, maybe they're allowing the employees to work remotely. I know that a lot of films and cartoons are allowing projects that are in post-production to, work from home. Like, for example, the Godzilla movie, Godzilla vs. King Kong, that one is being worked on by VFX artists at their homes. And Suicide Squad, it sounds like, is being edited at home by James Gunn. Am I aware of the Podcast Now guy? I think he's mentioned you one time. I don't follow Podcast Now. Podcast Now, he kind of talks crap about people and then tries to act all friendly with them later. I don't know. I think he has a lot of people who like him. I've listened to some of his podcasts, and he seems like a nice guy who does good work. But he's kind of thrown shade at Slickmoth for no reason, and it's kind of slander almost. So I don't really appreciate what he does. Yeah, Telltale games, the problem is that they don't... I like the idea of a game in which you get to choose what you're doing. Making choices. I love choice systems in games. I think... But, I'd rather have a Batman choice game in the vein of, Mass Effect than Telltale, if that makes sense. There might be a Batman game revealed between April and June, maybe later. Yeah, I think that that's a good estimate, because now that they don't have to be at E3, that gives them more freedom. So, they could announce it earlier now. I'm just sick of their current marketing strategy where they're revealing, a logo every 4 months.
I've got guests flying in from all over Arkham. You'll see.
Been debating this for a while. Should the Batman show the Wayne murders? So here's the thing, and this is what kills me, is people... I think that whole debate started with, the people being upset that Uncle Ben wasn't in the Spider-Man movies with the MCU. And I... feel like that's justified, actually, not because he's not in it, but because there's no reference to him. Uncle Ben has no role in the MCU films. His suitcase is shown one time, and then it's blown up, and they just joke about it. So, I think, in terms of that, and the reason I mention that is because it's the same kind of deal. So, regardless of if it's Spider-Man and Uncle Ben or Batman and the Wayne murders, that's what made them who they are, really. I mean, Spider-Man was Spider-Man before Uncle Ben died, but that's what really put him on the path to being a hero. And so to not mention that, and it kind of... It sort of lowers the quality of the character's arc and story. So I don't really care if they show the Wayne murders or not. I'm not the person who's I'm sick of seeing the Wayne murders. I could see it as many times as they need me to see it if it's relevant to the story. And that's something that I've learned a lot studying film and, analyzing films in my classes and stuff, is that the structure of a story, if the structure of the story calls for the Wayne murders to be shown, then absolutely I wouldn't mind seeing it. But if it's not really part of the story, then it's not necessary. If the story isn't about who Batman is and what his morals are, then no, we don't need to see it again. What do you think? Do you think Wonder Woman 84 will come straight to streaming on HBO Max? No, they said it's coming to cinema first recently. So what happened was, and yes, for now that's the case, but for all that we know, that could change because it got pushed back from June to August. But if the virus is still super prevalent in August, then they absolutely could just say, we're just putting it on streaming. Have you guys heard about the, apparently the Snyder Cut is actually gonna happen, though. Apparently that's the talk around town, is that they're doing the Snyder Cut. But, and this is the part that is so weird, apparently Zack Snyder wants to film new scenes for the movie. And to me, like, don't get me wrong, I'll watch it. I'm kind of interested to see what it is. But at the same time, I'm kind of, like, in shock that Warner Brothers is bending over backwards this much to sort of put a Band-Aid on a movie that came out years ago. Like this mediocre film that came out 3 years ago. Like, I understand why people want to see it, but it's so bizarre to me that 3 years later we still haven't moved on. What do I think about Johnny Depp possibly being the Matt Reeves Joker? Honestly, I'd be fine with that. It might be kind of awkward, considering his whole drama with Amber Heard, that they'd be like both big DC stars. I think he could be a good Joker, though. I think Johnny Depp he hasn't always been consistently good. I think he's made some odd decisions as a person. But and he's like said a lot of stuff that makes him seem kind of unstable. With that said, I think he's a really good actor.
If I want to follow them, I'll need to do this the old.
If new scenes need to be filmed, the Snyder Cut wasn't very good. So the thing is, like, the Snyder Cut isn't actually finished. I know that he posted that whole thing of like it does exist, and he like showed the film reel or whatever. Okay, exists doesn't equal finished. So Zachary Levi, who plays Shazam, and a bunch of other people have made it very. Snyder Cut is not a completed thing. It exists, yes, but yeah, like the reason that everyone was like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen in the industry is because it's not finished. They'd need to spend tons of money on new VFX. They need to spend money to shoot scenes that, like, additional scenes that would be required. So I don't know, like, it's just so weird to me that they've been pushing so hard for this. Again, I understand why people wanted to see a director's cut, and the circumstances were very sad with Snyder's daughter committing suicide, which was very, very sad. And even though I'm not a huge Snyder fan, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's not... I still respect him as a filmmaker. His movies just don't resonate with me as much as other people's, but that doesn't, lower his quality as a person. But the point is that I understand why people want to see it. I just don't think that it's really necessary. I don't think that the Snyder Cut will actually be, like, this godsend legend that everyone's acting like it's going to be. Honest thoughts on the new Batmobile. I actually really like it. I like the look that this film is going for. I sort of like that they're... it seems like they're combining a lot of the great Batman looks. I actually appreciate that the Batmobile looks sort of like it's from the 60s, but updated. I like the more noir look. I think it looks a lot like the comics. And I'm really hoping that this film lays groundwork for a really great Batman film universe. Thoughts on the Batsuit? Yeah, I like it. I think the only thing that looks weird to me are like his sleeves. Like, it kind of, like the gauntlets, someone pointed out it looks like a bunch of ballpoint pens. Which it kind of does, but other than that, like, I think his suit kind of looks like the Arkham Origins suit. So in that regard, I like it a lot. Yeah, so like Jack Davies is saying about the Snyder Cut, even if it comes out and it's amazing, it'll be setting up a universe that we'll never see. That's exactly what my problem with Batman versus Superman was. I'm like, this isn't so much a movie about being a self-contained story, it's all set up. And Snyder isn't, like, his weakness, I think, because his strength is showing action. He's really good at filming action. Like, that warehouse scene in BVS is, like, godlike. But the...
Oracle.
Like, he has such a hard time conveying plot. So, instead he just throws in these random sequences for setup that don't really work. Like, the whole Flashpoint thing, like, I guess it was supposed to be a callback in a future movie, but in the context of BVS, it ruins the structure and it makes no sense. I think that... I don't know who would win. Arkham Batman or Injustice Batman? I don't know, that's a good question. They're probably on par with each other. I like that Pattinson's Batman is clearly a newer, less mature one. Yeah, I like that.
No problem, boss. The boys are just finishing off.
You bet that the WV mains focus on the E3 Digital Showcase will focus on LEGO Star Wars? Can you imagine if they were like, we're going to do a live stream for what our conference is going to be, and it's LEGO Star Wars? Actually, no. WB, even if they'd done a conference at E3, they would have shown LEGO Star Wars at, like, the Xbox conference or something. They wouldn't because Star Wars is a Disney property, so there's no way that they would let their conference be based on a Disney property. Would I like to see Ben Affleck's Batman film, from what you've heard? Yes, I would have watched it, and I'm sure it would have been really good. But I'm more excited for the Reeves film. I think that I liked Affleck's Batman. I didn't like that he killed and was like a full-on serial killer. You know, I know that people like to say that you know, Bale killed too, but there's a difference between you know, letting someone who's destroyed the controls on a train fall to their speed to their death and just not saving them, so being passive, which I still don't think is great, but it makes sense, versus full on, like, you know, ordering, like, hit strikes on thugs. Like,
did you really think it was gonna be that easy, that I sent a few more of my boys your way?
Avengers marketing, I'm not excited for the Avengers game. I honestly don't think it looks that good.
Joker wants him found. Spread out. He could be anywhere.
The Avengers game, like, they were bragging about it for 2 years, how it was going to be the best superhero game of all time. And then they showed the trailer and it was like, that's it? Like, it looks like a 2015 game. People get mad when I say that, but I think it really does. I think it looks like a, you know, an Xbox 360 game with, like, you know, like, very mediocre graphics. And everyone who's like, well, it was still in pre-alpha. I'm like, yeah, so why were they saying that they were going to release it 8 months later if it's still in pre-alpha? And by the way, that's not pre-alpha. Whenever game studio is showing a trailer and they're like, this is pre-alpha, no, that's not what pre-alpha is. It's beta, is what they're showing. I honestly think it's a rushed game. They have nothing to show except the opening mission. So the weird thing is that this game has been... It was announced in, like, 2017, like the beginning of 2017, and so really this is like a 3-4 year game from, like, 4 studios all working on it. So I have no idea why it looks so bad. Like, this should be the biggest game ever. Like, I don't know why you'd make an Avengers game with no open world though. Like, they're just doing, like, these miniature hub worlds. Like, why? That's so stupid. When Khan was announced as the main protagonist. Yeah, it's such a weird choice, and not that, like, I don't know. I know that people are all like, it's sexist. I'm like, no, it's not that she's a woman, it's just that I don't think she's that interesting of a character. Like, if Black Widow was the main character, I'd be more interested. If, you know, the Fantastic Four was announced with with the Invisible Woman being the primary character, you know, I'd be like, oh, interesting choice, but okay.
How could you?
Even if it was Captain Marvel, I don't like her movie, but I mean, she'd be fun to play as.
Joker must have figured out how I was tracking.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The Avengers game should have come out last year. I don't know why they didn't try to time the release with, like, Endgame. It's so weird that... I don't know. It's really bizarre, in my opinion. Like, if you've noticed, after Endgame, like, there's still a lot of hype for the MCU, but it's way lower. Like, I think a lot of us have sort of stepped out. CW shouldn't have put Kevin Conroy's Batman. His death was laughable. I don't watch CW. They're awful. They butcher every character. Like, I liked season 1 of The Flash, and I liked the Arrow, and that was it.
But be careful. Don't cut yourself on this sharply observed portrait.
And even the first 2 seasons of Arrow, I mean, it's not Green Arrow. I mean, it's basically Batman the TV show. They totally, like, reshaped his entire workflow from the comics to make him just a Batman knockoff because he was popular. Not interested in any MCU movies. Yeah, I'm really not either. It's like Ant-Man being the protagonist of the Avengers film. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, it's not that we hate the character or that we're sexist. It's that she's not like when I think of Avengers, I think Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Spider-Man, like those guys. I don't think like these obscure B and C listers.
Said something about Joker's army coming through the main gate. 2 of my guys moved to the exit, and Frank shot him dead. They never stood a chance.
Was Bowles alone?
Thought he was. Then I saw Harley Quinn. She was surrounded by Black Gate prisoners. They were just killing everyone in the room. I had no choice. I got in here, locked the door. I could see it on the security feed. They had someone with them. It looked like the commissioner.
Bowles is dead. They carried on without him. Must have outlived his usefulness.
Good. He was scum. I'll look after him.
The producer of Arrow recently came out and said he wanted Green Arrow to inspire Bruce Wayne to become Batman. Oh my gosh. I hate the CW. Like, it's seriously so stupid. Every idea that they've... Oh my gosh. I guess that this hasn't finished installing. I uninstalled this game. We may have to end this a little early. Whoops. Yeah, I've been playing like Red Dead and some other games, so yeah, my storage is pretty low. It looks like it was pretty close though, so maybe we'll be good. Yeah, it looks like there's about 5 minutes left. Don't get why Avengers' main focus is loot and horde mode. Yeah, it's like... I don't know. The only reason I'm getting the game is for the multiplayer. That's it. Like, I'm gonna try to get all the Gotham Knights and, you know, like Evan Filarka, and we'll all get in, you know, servers and play together. Like, that'll be some good content. But the story... So, here's my honest thoughts. The game looks like it's from 2015. The gameplay looks like it's from 2012. And the story feels like someone watched The Incredibles and then Avengers Endgame and then did a weird... Like it's like Avengers Endgame and The Incredibles got married and had a kid. Supers are illegal now because they failed to stop an accident. Thoughts on PS5? So I watched the specs video, and I know that a lot of people thought it was boring because they were expecting games. I actually thought it was kind of cool. It's going to be really powerful, probably really expensive too. We're kind of to the point though where I do think that they're going to start moving over to streaming games and stuff, just because I mean we've reached the top of what consoles can do. Like I've dabbled with Unreal Engine 4 and game development and stuff like that, and like it's crazy because there's really you can make graphics look as good as you want and performance is still pretty good at this point. Like there's very few games that have to sacrifice quality for performance, and especially with these new consoles, it's basically going to be, you know, that the end of that evolution, I think. I mean, like, you look at a game from, like look at 20... Here's a good example right here, actually. Look at 2000... Sorry, I can't even talk. Look at 2000 to 2010. Those games, it's, like, crazy. Like, it's not even recognizable. Like, you look at the Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone movie tie-in game, and then look at, you know, a game like Star Wars The Force Unleashed. It's, like, insane. But look at this game that I'm playing right now. It's like, yeah, we've had improvements. Arkham Knight looks significantly better, but with that said, this game still holds up really well. Like, if this game released today, I don't think that there'd be a huge question as to, like, did it have lower quality or something? I think that people would still expect it as a good-looking modern game. Is Evan even hyped for Avengers? Haven't watched him in a bit. No. I think he hopes it's good. I think Evan gets a lot of unfair criticism for just saying he's not that excited for stuff. Like one of my favorites is when he and his dad were reviewing Far From Home, and his dad said, like, yeah, I think John Watts should fill out an application form for Walmart. I laughed so hard. I thought that was hilarious, but people were like, that is so disrespectful to John Watts. I'm like, you think John Watts is, like, sitting in his bed crying because Evan's dad said that? Like, he made so much bank making that freaking movie. He doesn't give a crap. But yeah, like a lot of people are like, Evan, you're not excited for Avengers? What a simp. And he's like, I'm just not it doesn't look as good as Spider-Man, which I agree. Like, I got bored watching the 8A demo. I got bored, like, my first time. I was like, this is really kind of repetitive. Whereas, like, with Spider-Man or Arkham Knight, it was like I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. And I think that's the big difference, is like Arkham Knight, Spider-Man, it's like I couldn't wait to get my hands on the game. Avengers, I'm like, I hope it's not a complete waste of my time and money. Arkham Knight and Spider-Man PS4 look almost the same graphically. Yeah, so I thought Spider-Man looked a lot better, but then I was playing Arkham Knight, like, recently, you know, I was just sort of replaying that one to do my video on where I think it went wrong. And it's kind of crazy because the graphics look about the same. The only thing I don't like is the film gain effect. There's, like, this effect of film gain, and it makes the textures look kind of blurry and not quite as good, in my opinion. That's the only thing I think Spider-Man does better. Knight, Carnage Ghost thought Knight looked better than Spider-Man. I could see that. Like, they're very close graphically. They're very, very close. I think that Spider-Man, one thing that maybe didn't quite look as good were some of the character faces. Like Peter Parker and Black Cat and Mary Jane all looked really, really good. But a lot of the other ones, like, they didn't necessarily quite look as detailed. Like Arkham Knight, it was like every aspect of the game looked super detailed, whereas Spider-Man, and I think this is just because it was a much bigger game, it didn't quite have that same level and attention to detail. Only way I'll get Avengers Day 1 is if I have at least 400 to spare. You know, I'll have to see what the if they're really gonna be. I think didn't they say you have to pay for cosmetics? I don't remember. The setup for Hush and City was wasted, and yeah. Yeah, again, I did a whole 20-minute video talking about why Arkham Knight is so disappointing, and it really is. Like, it could have been such a great game, but I have, like, an issue with at least one element of every aspect of the game. Arkham Knight was the first game to really blow me away when it came to graphics. For me, it was Assassin's Creed Unity. That was the first time that I saw something and I was like, whoa. And obviously, that game had its own share of issues. I don't think it's quite as bad as people say. But that was the first time I was like, you know, there's potential for like photorealism in games. And I'm really hoping that this next Batman game is like really like Naughty Dog or Rockstar level of graphics. I mean, imagine like a huge Gotham City that's like, you know, maybe twice as big as the one in Arkham Knight and has the graphics of, you know, like Red Dead 2, and it could have the Nemesis system. Just about to start a new job and then they closed. That really sucks. Yeah, game person, I'm still working. My company has decided that they're essential retail. I work at a dry cleaners. But if they shut down, there's a good chance I'll lose my job. So I definitely feel you guys on in terms of financial concerns. This job like is literally only getting me through college. Like I can't afford to move out. I can't afford to do much. So yeah, so in the trailer for Arkham Knight, we see like the Bat family all hanging out a bunch, and we see like all these great trailer shots and all the villains planning and conspiring together. And in the game, it's like, it feels so lazy. I don't know. I really struggle with Knight. There's things I love about it. I think that the gameplay is really on point. But I have so many issues with that game story. Okay, so the other thing, on Twitter, I put up a... it's my pinned tweet, so if you go, you can find it. If you guys have video requests or games you'd like to see me stream, that's where to put them. I have a lot on my list already. Actually, since we have a minute before the game finishes loading, let me pull that up. Let me see if I can find it. Is either... Okay, so here's games on the list. All right, Arkham, obviously. That's what you guys all wanted to see today. BioShock, The Last of Us, Uncharted, Red Dead 2, Spider-Man, Assassin's Creed Injustice, Mad Max. I can do some shorter horror games like Layers of Fear, Observer, The Park, Perception, Batman Telltale, Alan Wake, Prince of Persia, Red Faction, Middle-earth, Metro, Fallen Order or Battlefront. So there's kind of my current list. The Father to Son trailer was my favorite trailer ever. I agree. Father to Son was so cool. And it sort of made it look like Two-Face was going to be the main villain, which would have been such a better choice. Bought Mad Max in 2015 and never beat it. Mad Max was a game I fully expected to hate, but I kind of love it. It's so, like... It's just mindless fun. It's like everything I hate about a video game, but somehow that game like made it all work. Okay. We'll play a little bit more. I should have made sure that this was fully installed before I started streaming. That's not great, but... There we go. So I'm going to be starting the 3 videos per week minimum thing, and I actually have a video that I will be uploading today. Then I have one tomorrow. So I'm actually going to start out of the gate pretty strong with daily videos for a minute. And if I can, I'm in quarantine, so I might, not because I'm sick, but just because I'm self-isolating. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll go ahead and do daily uploads until I can kind of get back to the grind. The story for Night wasn't bad, just disappointing. I think it's kind of bad, honestly. Like, I just struggle so much with the structure of the game, and I struggle with so many plot holes, I feel like. But I agree, it's not straight up bad. It has really cool moments. Like the skyscraper scene with Scarecrow and Barbara, that is so freaking cool. And then the ending with Joker. I don't love Joker's inclusion in the game, but I think that that final sequence with him is the strongest Batman Joker moment in the Arkham games. I do not watch Titans. I started to, and I just didn't really like it.
Batmobile's countermeasure system.
I saw the alert. What's wrong? Where are you?
I'm outside the Arkham mansion.
If it were the first game, it would have been loved, but it came after Asylum and City and even Origins. Yeah, the problem wasn't that the game was like straight up bad. It's that it was disappointing in comparison to what we knew Rocksteady was capable of. We knew that they were better. They were capable of making a better game than Arkham Knight was. And I think that's what disappointed everybody. So the other thing, and I didn't really have a plan today because I just sort of wanted to explain what I'm doing in terms of upcoming streams and videos. But the other thing is I want this, so again, it's going to be every other Friday. I want it to be more of a podcast where I can sit and talk, and maybe I can get some of you guys on, and maybe I can get some of the Gotham Knights on. It's not going to be like a podcast, but it's going to be more reminiscent of that, where I'm just talking, and I'll come with topics, and get your guys' feedback on stuff. The Gotham Knights podcast is going to be separate. That one, I don't know when we're going to start it. We were hoping it would start up last year, like early last year, because we were hoping for a game announcement, but yeah, we haven't seen that quite yet.
There's a supply of explosive gel in the trunk of the Batmobile. I may need it.
No, there we go. If Avengers flops when it launches, I really hope superhero games will be better from Marvel and DC. See, the thing is, I think we're about to have a big... we've been in a drought of superhero games, kind of. Like, we've had a few, like we got Injustice 2, and, you know... I guess that's not really fair to say because Spider-Man came out. But, you know, we've had a DC games drought, and even Marvel. I mean, to have one Spider-Man game, in comparison, like, where we were getting a Spider-Man game, like, every 1 to 2 years, it's been a lot slower. And I've heard that Spider-Man will actually release in 2021. And on top of that, we're getting a new Batman game from Warner Brothers Games Montreal either this year or next year. And on top of that, Rocksteady sounds like they're wrapping up their game. It sounds like that was also going to be announced at the WB press conference. I hope people don't get sick of Batman games. People always say they're sick of Batman games, but it's like, that's the most bogus thing. Like, you know, I'm so tired of Batman games, I hope they don't make another one. And then Arkham Knight comes out and it sells better than any of the other ones. Like, it sold like 5 million copies within the first 6 months. And especially, I think that especially if they're also planning on doing a Superman game and a... you know, Suicide Squad game, let's say, from Rocksteady. I'm not positive that's what they're doing, but that's what it sounds like they might be doing. You know, and we're getting Spider-Man games, then I think that there will be enough variety that people won't really get tired of it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I don't really get sick of Batman either. Like, I know a lot of people do. I don't. Same with Spider-Man. Those are the two that I could... And Superman, actually. When done right, I love Superman. Who's my least favorite superhero? Like, mainstream or just, like, bizarre? Because...
I want all the doctors rounded up. Search every
mainstream.
inch of the medical building.
That's a good question, actually. Let me think about that for just a second. So generally, the characters that bug me are characters that don't really resonate. For example, I didn't like Tony Stark until the movies. I thought that Robert Downey Jr. made him a much more likable character. In the comics, I felt like he was just kind of a dick. But, like, so my favorite characters, and I'll start with that, my favorite characters are, like, Batman, Spider-Man, Batgirl, the people who have totally, you know, gone through a lot of crap and become better people because of it and don't want other people to experience what they've experienced.
I've got to save them.
And Superman is a little different, but I also think people assume that he's really stoic, but if you read the comics, you know that's not true. He's actually really likable in my opinion as well. I think that my least favorite mainstream hero, I don't know, like, there's a lot that I think get uninteresting really fast. For example, Captain America. I think his origin is really cool, but then he, like, I don't know, like, and he's cool with the Avengers and stuff, but besides that, I don't think, like, his solo modern day stories are that great. I think that the Winter Soldier film was an exception, but, like, as a general rule. I honestly don't know who I could say my least favorite is, because, like, all of them, there's stuff I like about it. I don't know. My issue with characters like Captain Marvel is that she doesn't really struggle. Like, she doesn't... And that's my problem with a lot of the, you know, like, female-led movies, isn't that it's women, because I'm fine with women being the main character. My problem is that they don't feel like well-written characters. It's like, oh, they don't struggle. They just go, you know, worship them. And I'm like, no, the reason that Batman, for example, is a cool character is that he's overcoming moral questions. Do I consider Venom a villain or an anti-hero? Who's my favorite anti-hero? He can be both. I prefer him when he's a straight-up villain.
You're safe now.
I think it's so cool. Like some of the best stories are when he's fighting Spider-Man. My favorite anti-hero is probably Red Hood.
One minute we were doing our evening rounds, and the next, armed thugs burst into the room and took us hostage.
Did they have anyone with them?
They took someone into the elevator. I couldn't tell who it was.
They obviously didn't want to be followed. The elevator appears to have been powered down. You're going to be okay here.
We'll be fine.
What about the others? We heard gunfire. They could be dead. We should go and help.
Oh no, I forgot. Dr. Kellerman was in the patient observation room.
What your who's my favorite hero?
Dr.
You mean?
Young went to X-ray.
My favorite hero.
Okay, stay here. I'll find the other doctors.
I'm here, Mike.
Is
hold still. I'll get you.
Slickmoff has said that it's Batgirl, and I'd have to. Honestly, I think I'd go with Batman just because there's a little bit more in terms of the character's lore, but I think that Batgirl is the most inspirational character, especially after she becomes Oracle. I'd say she's the most inspiring, but Batman is my favorite. And Spider-Man is a close second. He is great. I love the Spider-Man mythology. And generally, I'm more invested in the DC Comics side of things. But I really do enjoy Spider-Man is on that. Like, a lot of the Marvel characters don't quite hit the mark. I like them all, but they don't quite hit the mark of being my favorites. But Spider-Man really is the outlier there. He is so great. Don't I agree that Santa Monica could make a Ghost Rider game? Well, is Ghost Rider popular enough to do a video game on, though? Like, that's the thing. Like, they'll never make just a solo Batgirl game. They'll never make a Nightwing game. They'll never make a Red Hood game because the characters aren't popular enough. Like, same for Marvel. That's why they're combining all the Avengers into one game.
Don't worry, Doctor. I rescued you first, and now I'll search the other rooms. You wait here. It's dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. A Batgirl movie would be really, really great, especially if they had the villain be James Gordon Jr. I don't know how many of you guys know who that is. He is so... Yeah, it would be such an emotional story. It would be really great.
And whether potentially damaging changes to the brain are related to the length of psychotic episodes.
Iron Man VR looks terrible. It looks fine. I'm just not a huge VR person to begin with. It's like... It kind of feels like 3D, where it had this huge boom where everyone was like, VR is the future, VR is going to be so good. And it definitely has its place, but it's not like... It didn't like overtake the video game industry.
We represent all medical specialties and offer that means some of the bitches cash.
Jack Davies, I'd probably have to agree with you. If you put Spider-Man in that mix, yeah, Batman, Superman, Flash, Spider-Man, those guys are all great. When do I think anti-heroes will be popular? That's a good question. I think that the Venom verse will really help. I actually liked the Venom movie. Like, it was dumb, but it was fun. I'd like a Flash game, but how would it work? I think that there are already game mechanics that prove that it could work. I think that you could have him run fast, and you could also have time slowed down, and you could do something like the Fear multi-takedowns, except a little bit more strategic. I think a Flash game would actually work, and one thing that I've always championed is that if they ever do a speed... like a game about, you know, being the Flash or something, what they should do instead of Predator encounters is they should have sequences like Quicksilver had in the X-Men movies. You know, like the time in a bottle in Days of Future Past, where like there's like 30 things going wrong at the same time. Oh my gosh, he's not gliding. You know, like there's 5 people about to get shot with bullets, and there's something exploding, and so he has to go through the room and fix each situation. It would be cool if you had a time, so you had like a time limit, and you had to fix a certain amount of issues in that given time. I think that'd be a lot of fun. VR sucks. I don't mind it, but I don't think it's cost effective. I think that it's way too expensive, and it's not really that great yet. I played Arkham VR and it was fine. It wasn't like the best thing ever, though.
I can't let that man die. I have to clear the room of toxin as quickly as possible.
Do I think they'll bring back Quicksilver in the... Oh, we'll see you later, Carnage Ghost. Do I think that they'll bring back Quicksilver? Maybe in a TV show. I could see that. Maybe they'll do like a prequel show with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch or something.
Batman arrives just in the nick of time. Next time, Cash, I'll just shoot you.
All right, we're gonna get up to the Bane fight. So we're gonna fight Bane, and that will be our cutoff point for today. And then this will be a 3-part stream. So I'm not going to play multiple games at the same time. So in 2 weeks, I'll play more of this. And then 2 weeks after that, I'll finish it.
There is still medical staff needing my help.
Yeah, I think that's how we'll do it.
Will all patients please remain calm and move slowly to their accommodation?
Yeah, so people think that the Flash game would be really OP, but yeah, like Jack is saying, it could be cool if you made him very vulnerable. And I actually would like to see maybe the next Batman game try something like that as well. I like games like, even Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order did a good job with this, where they made the character really vulnerable. So like you could get taken out by a group of stormtroopers if they got the drop on you. Which actress would you choose to play Barbara Gordon in the movies? It's a good question. It would depend on the age she is. It would depend on...
Don't speak.
You know, if she's biologically the daughter of Gordon, or if she's not.
Just not for me.
Because Gordon is played by Jeffrey Wright, who is not Caucasian like in the comics, which isn't bad, but it would influence the cast decision for Barbara if she's adopted or biological.
See if he can detect being punched in the face.
You know who else would make a good game? And this one wasn't one that I actually thought would be great, but I started thinking about it. I think Wonder Woman would be a really great video game, especially if it was set during like the World Wars. Imagine like a full-on superhero game, like in the vein of Arkham that's set in like World War II. Like that would be so awesome. Yeah, see, there's a lot of people who are like, a Flash game wouldn't work, Superman game wouldn't work. I think that they totally can work.
Don't get too full of yourself, Bats. I'm just softening you up.
I thought it was funny when we all thought Rocksteady was making a Superman game when people were like, no, Superman's too hard, they're doing a Justice League game. And I'm like, you know Superman's in the Justice League, right? Like, that'd be way harder.
Don't get too full of yourself, Dark Knight. It only gets harder from here.
I love how they had to retcon all of these bios. Like, look, Hush is freaking like established in Arkham Asylum.
Welcome to Arkham Asylum. Our staff are here to help you.
Haven't I? You know what? What if we like all... I'll have to talk to the Gotham Knights about this. Maybe we should try to put something together while we're all isolated. I don't know, maybe like a photo mode competition. Maybe we could all submit a 10-page script idea for how we do a Batman film or something. Like, I don't know. We could do something to at least keep us entertained for a bit. Oh wait, that's the wrong way. There.
Everyone knows the stories of the various so-called super criminals who've been treated here, but that is only half the story. Our low security...
So the Telltale games, here's my thing. They could be really, really cool. What they'd need, I think, is to actually feel like there's stakes involved. My favorite episode of a Telltale game is Batman Season 2, Episode 1 with the Riddler. That one, I think, is so perfect. Like, the final choice that you have to make is, like, to either, you know, save the person you're with and let somebody else die, or severely injure the person you're with and save the other people. Like, that's a no-win situation, and you have to try to make the best choice based on your judgment and how what you feel is the right choice to make. So, I don't know. I think that was the best episode, and like with this new direction that Telltale's going in, since they have been reopened, I would love nothing more than to sit down and like talk with the people if they're planning on doing another Batman game and just sort of explaining, like, you know, Batman games work, but don't try to make it action heavy. Go more with Season 1 direction. Do I want Batman Season 3? I'd play it. I didn't like Season 2. I loved Episode 1 of Season 2, but after that, I got so bored of the season. So I'd play it. if they do decide to keep going with Batman, I really hope that they find ways to innovate the choice system and make it more, you know, more like I want the story to actually adapt to my choices. What would I make season 3 about? See, it's hard because they almost wrote themselves into a corner. Like, it's all about Joker again. It's sort of the same corner that the Arkham games wrote themselves into. I'd make season 3 where Joker is the overarching villain, but in each... And this is how I would have done the whole series, actually. I went with Vigilante Joker, but he still becomes a villain at the end. Either way, he's a villain by the end of the season. So, in my season 3, Joker would be the main villain, but you wouldn't face him until episode 5. Every other episode would face a different villain from the Batman mythos. So, like, let's say one would be Clayface, one would be Poison Ivy, one would be, you know, Hugo Strange. And it would sort of be like Batman the Animated Series, where all of them are sort of tied together in a big overarching story, but they're all also standalone episodes. And I would play with the choice system. So, for example, in the Clayface episode, you know that Clayface is around, and so you have to ask yourself, am I going to divulge this information to Alfred? Or maybe that could actually be a plot twist. Like, you're talking to Alfred in the Batcave. Later, you learn that it's Clayface impersonating Alfred. So then you've told Clayface all this stuff that you weren't supposed to. With Poison Ivy, you know, she uses mind control a lot. So, you know, maybe that could impact the choice system, or maybe that could impact other characters. So I think that there's ways that you could play with the choice system that would be a lot of fun.
Say good night, bats. Boom! Only kidding. Got a few more surprises in store for you. Prepare to face your fears.
Yeah, the guy who did John Doe in the Telltale games, Anthony, let's see, Ingruber. I can't pronounce his last name, but yes, he's very talented. I think he started on YouTube. He started just doing, like, voice impersonations of Mark Hamill, and I think he did an excellent job. I don't love necessarily the way he was written in Season 2, but he was a unique take on the character. And at the very least, what I can say about Telltale is that at least they did something new. That is really commendable. Even if it didn't work 100% of the time, they at least tried a fresh take on the character, which I do appreciate. So maybe one of the things that I'll talk about, and maybe this will be next stream, I know that some people have asked me, like, how I would make a Batman movie or a Batman game. Maybe next stream that's what I'll discuss. I also saw somebody ask about a podcast or live stream with the Gotham Knights. I'll try to do a live stream with them soon. We do have a podcast planned, but we're waiting for the games announcement. Yeah, I mean, with a lot of time on our hands, maybe I'll see if any of them want to do a collaboration soon or something. But yeah, maybe for next stream I'll talk about what my Batman story would look like, and when I play Spider-Man I can do the same thing there. That could be an interesting way to talk about it. I do think it would be fun to bring people onto, like, a PlayStation party chat. You know, I couldn't have too many on at a time or else it would just be mass chaos, but it might be a little better. These streams might be a little more entertaining for you guys if I'm not just talking to myself the whole time, and if there was someone I could bounce ideas off and such. Do I think Telltale is still going to make the Spider-Man game? I don't... Were there plans to do one to begin with? I'd play a Telltale Spider-Man game for sure. Because that's a character where it would actually be really cool. Like, there's so much depth as Peter Parker as well as Spider-Man that I absolutely would do that. When do I think we'll get another Image? As of right now, my money's on May. I don't think we'll see anything until May.
Father, you should have stood up to him, son. Like a man.
Making Batman scripts is so fun that it would be amazing if the Gotham Knights made one.
Mom?
We could do that. I mean, I could sit down with like Slickmoth and Salvage, and we could probably talk about how we do a Batman story. I know that we have plans when we do our podcast. We're going to do some episodes discussing how we would have changed the Arkham games. So, like, how we would have done Arkham City a bit differently and Arkham Origins a bit differently. Sometimes I'm, like, apprehensive to share, like, what I would do with superhero characters because I'm genuinely, like, trying to get in the business. So if I ever were given the opportunity to make, like, a Superman movie, I don't want to, like, have already spoiled the plot on YouTube. But the chances of me actually getting to make these characters into films is pretty low, so... I don't know. It's just hard that, you know, people like me who actually do want to tell these stories have so few opportunities to legally do so. Like, if I were to make a comic, for example, I'd get sued. If I were to do... it's tricky. So this really is kind of the best way to share some of those ideas. And not that, like, I'm trying to become a comics writer or anything, but, like, you know... Sometimes I think that would be more interesting to actually be able to let people experience my story than just talking about it. Oh, I'm curious. Have any of you guys read Spider-Man Shed? It's one of the stories in the Gauntlet. I'm just curious because I read it the other day. I'm about to spoil it, so, just because I feel like talking about it. It, like, freaking traumatized me, and I'm a grown man. You know, I've read, like, dozens upon dozens of comics. I read Spider-Man Shed, and it, like, actually made me, like, kind of upset. Like... Okay, so in Spider-Man Shed, what happens, is... Okay. I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. So, in the story, Kurt Connors has, like, lost custody of his kid. His wife died of cancer. So he's trying to get his son, like, custody of his son back. But his son his son hates him now because of the whole lizard thing, and he resents his dad. So Kurt Connors is now working somewhere else, and he's crushing on the girl he's working with. But his boss is a complete dick. And so, in short, Kurt Connors becomes the Lizard again. And so he goes and this was where the comic stopped being, like, really good. Well, right after this. So Kurt Connors eats freaking his son as the Lizard and dies. So Kurt Connors mentally dies because of how traumatic it is. And it doesn't show it or anything, but, like, he like, eats his kid. And so then, Kurt Connors dies, and the Lizard is all that's left. And then, that was, like, the second of 2 issues, or 4 issues, so that was issue 2 of 4. And it was really good, and really dark. I was like, oh my gosh, this is, like, the Killing Joke of Spider-Man stories. And I loved how they did the story with Kurt Connors trying to regain mental control. It was so well written. But once Kurt Connors dies, the Lizard gains the ability, and this was what made it really stupid. He can talk people into going crazy. So he can convince people that they are lizards in human skin, basically. And it got really weird. Like he got this whole group of people in the street, and they were, like, mating, and they were, like, attacking each other. It was so weird. And it was disappointing, because up to that point, it had been super good. But at the end of the day, I think that the first 2 issues, I would love to see a Spider-Man film that went to those dark places where Spider-Man truly feels responsible to a degree for some of the some of these horrible acts. Like, he feels like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't able to stop the lizard from killing his son. I think that would be really cool. I don't want a movie where the lizard convinces people that they're lizards by talking to them, but... I also read Spider-Man Blue, which is where Peter is reminiscing on Gwen Stacy's death. Yeah, Shatterpoint says, I love when comics take dark realistic turns, nothing too dark, though. So that's exactly right. My mom, for example, she hated the movie Doctor Sleep. I loved it, but she hated it, and she's not a huge fan of, like, the It movies, so, like, all these Stephen King things. And her reasoning is that she doesn't like the child death in it. And for me, like, it's all a matter of how it's portrayed for me, because it doesn't really bug me when it's done to show how evil a character is that is not glorified. So when a child murder is shown, but it's not glorified and it's portrayed as evil, and at the end of the film, the people and perpetrators are, you know, punished for what they've done. I like when stories can go to that dark of a place, and the reason isn't because I like seeing, you know, a child death or a rape or anything like that. Like, I just watched The Outsider on HBO, and it's really good. Totally recommend. But, you know, stories like The Killing Joke or Shed, it makes the main character, so it makes Spider-Man and it makes Batman, it puts them in a position where they're at their most raw. And it creates such great character moments. Like, especially that first It movie with the brother, how the brother died, and, like, it gave the character motivation a lot of depth, and it made it really strong.
He's got something else down there. I don't know what it is.
What a blabbermouth! Spoiling the surprise.
Be quiet.
Oh, am I getting to you? Am I? Good. You're going to love this next bit.
So, apparently this next Batman game, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like it might be not, like, to set up a huge franchise right away. It sounds like it might be more in the vein of, like, a Rockstar game where they make one that is supposed to last for years, and then they make another one, like, years down the road, and maybe they split it up with a Superman game or something. But I'm curious, would you guys prefer another game about the size of Arkham City or Arkham Knight? Or, and, you know, get one, like, every 2 years? Or would you prefer to get a game that's, like, the scale of, you know, just huge? Like, it has a story, like, you know, at least the length of Arkham Knight, maybe longer. It has tons of side content. It has the Nemesis system. It has a huge open world with lots of things to do. You know, a lot of features, Bat Family, multiplayer, like, enough content that will be worth replaying, that it keeps you invested for a few years. But then get games way more frequently. I guess that the best comparison is, would you prefer another Arkham Knight, or would you prefer a game that has the amount of content that, like, an Assassin's Creed game has, and get games more or less frequently? Excuse me. You want an Arkham Asylum scale game for the first time? I don't know if I want another Arkham Asylum scale game. I love Arkham Asylum, but I think that the lack of side missions, and, like, I wouldn't mind another stealth game that really plays on the stealth aspects of the Batman games, but I really wish that they'd taken the time to make Return to Arkham super good. Like, imagine if Arkham Asylum and Arkham City had the graphic style of, like, the quality of graphics from Knight with the aesthetics of Asylum and City would have been, like, so glorious. Imagine return to Arkham with Knight's combat. I actually don't think that would work. I think that Knight's combat is too big for the... I think if they'd have brought in some of the elements, like maybe if they'd have brought in the Batclaw as it was featured in Arkham Knight, or you know, I think that would have worked. But... yeah, so Game Person says that he hopes that the next Batman game is actually not... I forget, you can't punch him until the second time. Or he hopes that in the next Batman game they don't bring back the gargoyles. Now, I agree, because it makes stealth too easy. And it's not super realistic that there would be, like, gargoyles in all these locations. Like, it makes sense, like, in the Asylum it works, you know, but there's a lot that... Yeah, with keeping your combo, yeah. I can see that. What they could have done, and they genuinely could have done this, they could have brought the character models from Arkham Knight into Arkham Asylum City. They absolutely could have, because they were, like... it uses the same skeletal mesh, so it absolutely could have worked. And then they could have actually retextured the game. They could have retextured Asylum City with the textures of Arkham Knight as well. And then, yeah, would have been really great. Watch WB market the next game to be like a big GTA-sized Batman game, but then it's just the size of Knight. Or, oh, Arkham Nightwing DLC-sized game. So it's like a 5-minute game that they've been working on for 6 years. One of my favorite stealth maps was on the bridge in Origins because it had no gargoyles. Yeah, I agree. It makes it so much more difficult. And I think that this next Batman game, if it is a reboot, I really do hope that they sort of recreate and create a new combat and stealth system to some degree. I think it could be a lot of fun. You know, because obviously it's all iconic, but we've... like, the Arkham combat has been copied so many times, it would be cool to see them do something that causes or requires more skill. Imagine that next Batman game you playing Gotham and it's Blue Haven and it's and Bloodhaven, and it's the size of Red Dead 2's map. I think that might be too big, actually. That'd be cool, but that'd be huge.
Batman, you okay?
I'm fine, Jim. Where's Quinn?
Gone. Must have gotten loose while Bane was...
I obviously wouldn't mind if it was that big, and especially if there was content throughout.
I'm not a rookie. I can handle myself.
Are you asking if I'm okay? I'm fine.
I will break you, Batman. Then the Bruja.
No, Bane. This time I break you.
Imagine a populated city just dropping down in front of citizens. See, I think that they could have some fun interactions there. Like, citizens could get scared and run away, or you could have people, like, out of my way.
Jim, get back to the mainland. It's too dangerous here.
I don't like leaving you here.
Imagine unmarked villains throughout the map like Condiment King. I wouldn't want Condiment King, but yes, it would be cool to have unmarked villains throughout the city.
Bane called Dr. Young Bruja.
Actually, my biggest fear is that the next Batman game will, like, cater to kids. Like, and not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, the Batman the Animated Series is great, but, I mean, wouldn't that be so disappointing if after the Arkham series, like, the legacy lived on as, like, this super kid-friendly, like, franchise that was, like,
Pull up all you can find on Dr. Young.
like the 60s
I'll go
show?
through anything you find once I get to the cave.
Polka Dot Man.
I built it years ago.
No, if they really are going the route where it's just going to be a huge, massive game, I hope that they bring in tons of villains.
So do you think Dr. Young's
What about the Batmobile hitting a car and having them get out and yelling about
I'm worried.
not having good insurance? That would be funny, actually. You could have citizens run out of the way of the Batmobile. You could have it just be drivable in a isolated part of the city. You could have it so it doesn't destroy other cars and just knocks them out of the way or something. Alright guys, I have other stuff I have to get onto today. So that's part 1 of 3 of Arkham Asylum. Thanks you guys all for tuning in. Remember, I'm going to be doing 3 videos minimum per week, and hopefully having one come up today. And in addition, I'm going to be doing a stream every 2 weeks, so not next week, but the week after, Friday morning, about the same time. Be on the lookout, and I'll be on. So thanks you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one.